Hello, YouTube, Rob Wild. Um, been watching talk radio quite a lot recently, and this caught my eye today. I wanted to share it with other people, but it really highlights the point how these scientists, these professors, and these professional people always seem to try and get round the facts and not answer the questions. I'll put this on for you. I won't delay it any further. Have a listen and see what you think.
SARS and MERS were very dangerous viruses, and they did have a high mortality rate.
That's irrelevant. What's the point?
Yeah,
We're not all dead, though,
you,
are we?
you're mentioning those viruses, so let's just focus on the virus in hand that causes
No,
COVID.
no. It's relevant. My point is, you're saying we don't have a vaccine for those. People probably don't have antibodies for those viruses, and yet we're not all dead from those viruses. Those viruses went round the world, and we didn't see hundreds and hundreds of thousands or millions and millions of deaths. Why not?
People did die from those viruses.
I didn't say people didn't die from those viruses.
It was contained more. It didn't go around the world in the way
It did go round the world. Not as much as this, but we didn't see millions
So
and
here we
millions
have
of
a
deaths.
pandemic of a novel virus, which is a dangerous virus, and it's
Like SARS and MERS, yes.
and which is causing a lot of people to go to hospital and a lot of people
Yes.
to die.
Can you address the point I asked you, with all due respect?
Sorry, what is the point?
My point is, how can we not have developed some sort of immunity? We developed immunity to other coronaviruses, clearly. Otherwise, we'd all be dead now.
Well, the coronaviruses cause a common cold. We have immunity, but we get recapture the common cold, so we have transient immunity. What we're showing in our study is that the antibody levels to the first wave of the epidemic have dropped in the population.
But I understand that. I'm asking you about T cells.
Therefore, the amount of immunity from antibodies, that component of immunity has dropped. And the only way we're going to protect the whole population is it's very simple, two measures. One is to use the public health measures, which are really, really important while we wait for a vaccine. And that means that we have to pay attention to the message about social distancing, extremely important, hand washing and face covers where needed.
Yep.
And that's how we're going to deal with this over the next period.
You just have no intention of answering my questions, then, do you?
Sorry?
I mean, Professor, what do you intend? I'm asking you a really simple question. I mean, so, Professor, I'm not an expert. You're an expert, but I don't pretend to be an expert. But Professor Sunitra Gupta, professor at Oxford University, an epidemiologist with expertise in immunology, vaccine development, and mathematical modelling of infectious diseases, she, along with Carl Hennigan, professor of evidence-based medicine at Oxford University, and many others, saying, well, it can't just be antibodies, there's T-cell immunity. This is widely accepted among experts in your field.
Yes.
Why is it not possible that a lot of people in this country and around the world have actually already developed some level of immunity through T-cells, not just antibodies?
Julia, can I spell it out in words of one syllable? There is T-cell immunity, but we are in the middle of a pandemic. And at the moment, so we're doing another study called REACT-1, which is looking at the spread of the virus in the population.
Yeah.
The virus is spreading everywhere in this country. It's going up. And despite whatever immunity levels there...
I'll just pause him there because he said the virus is spreading across the UK, this community. It's not the virus that's spreading. It's the numbers of positive tests that are spreading and increasing, not the virus.
The facts are that the virus the R value is still above 1, and the virus is continuing to spread at an alarming rate through the population, not only in young people, but right across the age range, to the vulnerable people at older ages. So just looking at the facts, we are not being protected from this virus.
Well, apart from the fact that we're not all dying at the same rate, can you explain Sweden then? What's happening in Sweden?
So what's happening in Sweden is that the infection rate is going up.
How many deaths are they having per day?
I'm afraid I can't.
I can tell you the figure. It's 2. 2 people
Well,
a day. A population of 10 million and 2 people a day die.
I don't particularly want to comment on Sweden. I'm going to comment on what's happening.
No, but
I don't particularly want to comment on Sweden. Why not? What are they afraid of? They've gone into these lockdown rules across the UK. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, and now Tier 3 plus apparently. And when this was all introduced back in March, when the C19 first appeared on the scene, or well, in the UK, the lockdowns appeared on the scene, I should say. It was originally to reduce, flatten the curve. A few weeks, flatten the curve, and things will be back to normal, hopefully. Well, things aren't back to normal because when everything reopened, they want to lock down again. So, how is that solving the problem? How is it going to solve the problem? The way I see it, all it's going to do is put a little pause on it, and then when everything reopens again, it's all going to be back to normal. So this is not the solution. We have to look at other countries, especially Sweden. You can't run away from Sweden and the way they've handled it. It's got to be the way forward, in my opinion.
Relevant. If
And
how on earth are people,
England,
given that we've not got these lockdown and tier measures and all the things that are suggested by Sage and others in Sweden, and they're living largely free lives, not wearing masks, social distancing, yes, some people working from home, but going to bars and restaurants, living their lives relatively freely, and yet 2 people a day are dying. Yes, it's going up slightly because, of course, it's autumn. This is a respiratory illness. How do you explain that in the context of we can all possibly die from this virus because we haven't got antibodies?
So the situation in Sweden is different. The population density is different. The culture is different. In the UK, in England, which is what we're measuring, the rates are going up.
How is Sweden different? They've handled things much better than any other country.
Yet more people go into hospital, and yet more people die.
What a
joke! What we have to do is control this virus. We have to turn the R value down, and we have to. And the fact of, are we all immune? No, we're not all immune.
No one said we were all immune. No one said that.
We can see that the virus is continuing to rise. And
It's
we have to do something to address that.
the virus is not continuing to rise. The figures, the number of positive tests are rising. Nothing else.
What we can do is public health measures until we get a vaccine.
I just find it absolutely extraordinary that someone as eminent and knowledgeable about this as you refuses to accept that your explanation does not explain why in Sweden people can live a normal life and only 2 people a day are dying from this virus.
Exactly.
If what you are saying is the case and people do not have any T-cell immunity and there's no way of creating herd immunity in this sort of way, then they would be there'll be body bags all over the streets of Stockholm, and there aren't.
So the rates of infection in Sweden are higher than amongst their Scandinavian neighbours. So Sweden is a very interesting case. They've taken a slightly different route, but
Slightly different route? Is he for real?
And Sweden is have their own issues to deal with. In England and in the UK, I come back to the fact that the rates of the virus
I know you could
are continuing to increase.
We know that they do that every autumn. It's respiratory disease, and every respiratory disease, the death rates and the infection rates go up every autumn. Professor Paul Elliott, I know you've got no intention of answering my direct question. I'll give up. Right.